They say honesty is the best policy, but what if it isn't? What if truth, in its purest form, is not a strength but a liability? Consider the stories of those who have lost opportunities, friendships, and even their lives for being too honest. What if honesty, instead of being a virtue, is an Achilles heel in a world designed to reward deception? Stay with us as we unravel why honesty might not just be a weakness, but perhaps one of the most dangerous traits to possess in the modern world. If you're intrigued by perspectives that challenge conventional wisdom, make sure to subscribe for more thought-provoking content. We're taught from childhood that honesty is a moral imperative, a pillar of integrity. But reality tells a different story. People who are brutally honest often find themselves alienated, misunderstood, or even punished. This contradiction, the ideal of honesty versus its real-world consequences, forms the paradox at the heart of human interaction. Evolutionary psychology suggests that deception is deeply ingrained as a survival mechanism, shaping behaviors across species. In nature, many organisms rely on deception to evade predators or capture prey. Chameleons change color to blend into their environment, while certain insects mimic the appearance of more dangerous species to ward off threats. Humans, though more cognitively advanced, are no different in their reliance on strategic dishonesty. From small white lies meant to smooth social interactions to large-scale political maneuvering, deception has played a crucial role in human survival. If absolute truthfulness were the key to thriving, we would expect evolution to favor it. Yet, deception persists across cultures and species, suggesting that, in many cases, the ability to manipulate the truth is more advantageous than unwavering honesty. Game theory, particularly the well-known prisoner's dilemma, provides a mathematical and strategic explanation for why deception often leads to better outcomes than rigid honesty. Imagine two criminals arrested for a crime and placed in separate rooms, unable to communicate. If one remains honest and refuses to betray the other, but the second criminal lies and turns informant, the honest one will face a harsher punishment while the deceiver secures a lighter sentence or even walks free. This is not just a theoretical construct but a reflection of real-world dynamics. In competitive environments, whether in business, politics, or social interactions, those who are willing to strategically deceive often gain an advantage, while those who adhere to strict honesty risk being outmaneuvered. Over time, such interactions reinforce the idea that honesty is not always the best policy, especially when others are playing by different rules. History is not written by the most honest individuals but by those who emerge victorious, often through calculated rhetoric and manipulation. From ancient rulers to modern political figures, deception has been a defining characteristic of successful leadership. Niccolò Machiavelli's The Prince explicitly advises rulers to use cunning and deceit as tools of governance, arguing that the ends justify the means. This principle has played out repeatedly in history, where leaders who disclose too much or who act with complete transparency often find their honesty used against them. In contrast, those who master the art of persuasion, concealment, and strategic misrepresentation tend to retain power. Modern political campaigns follow the same pattern. Candidates craft carefully worded messages, avoiding outright lies but seldom embracing full transparency. The reality is that people gravitate toward leaders who present a palatable version of the truth rather than an unvarnished one, reinforcing deception as a tool for success. Consider a corporate setting where an employee attends a high-stakes meeting and is asked for their opinion on a failing business strategy. If they respond with blunt honesty, pointing out every flaw in the plan, they risk alienating their superiors and harming their career prospects. While truthfulness might demonstrate integrity, it is rarely the trait that leads to promotions. Instead, the most successful professionals learn to navigate office politics with tactful wording, expressing concerns diplomatically rather than bluntly. In this environment, diplomacy often becomes a euphemism for selective dishonesty, phrasing opinions in ways that maintain relationships while subtly influencing decisions. Employees who master this art are more likely to gain favor, receive leadership opportunities, and climb the corporate ladder. Thus, even in professional settings where honesty is encouraged in theory, the reality is that strategic deception often determines success. Friendships, too, are built on a delicate balance of honesty and tact. Imagine a scenario where a friend asks, "Do I look good in this outfit?" If the honest answer is no, bluntly stating the truth could damage their self-esteem and strain the relationship. Instead, most people opt for a softened version of the truth, perhaps offering a diplomatic response like, "I think another outfit might suit you better." In social interactions, radical honesty can become a minefield, as absolute truthfulness can come across as harsh or even cruel. Psychological studies suggest that friendships thrive on mutual affirmation, which often includes small, harmless deceptions. These unspoken social rules help maintain harmony, allowing people to navigate relationships without unnecessary conflict. In this way, deception, rather than pure honesty, often sustains interpersonal bonds. Romantic relationships function in a similar manner. Honesty is frequently touted as the foundation of strong partnerships, yet an excess of it can be detrimental. If partners were entirely transparent about every fleeting thought, attraction, or insecurity, many relationships would quickly unravel. Love often depends on selective truth. What remains unsaid can be just as important as what is spoken. Unspoken agreements, omissions, and small deceptions can keep relationships intact by avoiding unnecessary pain or conflict. While major dishonesty can be harmful, complete and radical honesty is rarely sustainable in long-term relationships. A certain level of discretion allows couples to maintain emotional stability and trust, paradoxically making relationships stronger rather than weaker. In some cases, telling the truth is not only inconvenient but outright dangerous. Whistleblowers, investigative journalists, and activists who expose corruption frequently face severe consequences. Speaking truth to power has historically led to exile, imprisonment, or even assassination. While their honesty may be morally commendable, it comes at an extraordinary personal cost. Figures like Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, and many others have faced legal persecution for revealing inconvenient truths. This raises a fundamental question: is truth worth the risk? While society often praises those who reveal the truth, the real-world consequences suggest that deception, whether through omission or deliberate misrepresentation, can often be the safer and more pragmatic choice. Interestingly, even religions and philosophies that champion truthfulness recognize that absolute honesty is not always ideal. Ancient wisdom texts acknowledge the complexity of truth and its potential for harm. In the Tao Te Ching, Laozi warns against disrupting harmony, suggesting that truth should be wielded wisely rather than indiscriminately. Hindu philosophy introduces the concept of satya, which emphasizes truth but only when it does not cause harm. Even in spiritual teachings, truth is often framed as a tool that must be used judiciously rather than an absolute principle. This philosophical nuance reinforces the idea that strategic deception has long been recognized as a necessary component of human interaction. The radical honesty movement, which encourages people to speak with complete and unfiltered transparency, provides a modern test case for whether absolute truthfulness is viable. Studies on the effects of radical honesty reveal that while it may lead to personal authenticity, it often results in increased social conflict, emotional distress, and even social isolation. Most people are not prepared to handle the unfiltered opinions and thoughts of those around them, making excessive honesty more harmful than beneficial. The conclusion is clear: while truthfulness is valuable in many situations, rigid adherence to honesty without consideration of social consequences can create more problems than it solves. Doctors sometimes conceal the full severity of a patient's condition to prevent panic. Parents tell children comforting lies to shield them from harsh realities. Governments classify information for national security. In these cases, honesty isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous. Nietzsche argued that truth is often a construct rather than an absolute. If truth is subjective, then so is honesty. What one perceives as honesty might be another's manipulation. This blurs the lines between honesty as a virtue and honesty as a weapon. From a utilitarian perspective, honesty should be weighed by its consequences. If a lie leads to greater happiness and an honest statement leads to suffering, which is truly ethical? The greatest good for the greatest number often requires bending the truth. So, should we abandon honesty? Not quite. The key is to be strategically honest. Honesty should be wielded with wisdom, truth when it builds, discretion when it protects. Absolute honesty is a weakness, but controlled honesty is a tool. Rather than viewing honesty as black and white, it should be understood as a spectrum. Knowing when to be honest and when to withhold information is the mark of wisdom, not deceit. The truly powerful are not those who are brutally honest, but those who know how to use honesty strategically. In a world where honesty is often romanticized but rarely rewarded, perhaps it's time to rethink our relationship with truth. Is honesty truly a virtue, or just another social tool that must be wielded with care? The answer lies in how we use it. If this perspective has made you question conventional wisdom, hit that subscribe button for more mind-bending content. What do you think? Is honesty really a strength, or is it a burden in disguise? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's continue the conversation. This is the Beyond the Surface channel. Like the video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one about philosophy. Thank you for watching.